Good Sunday morning. This is Hey Nikki, episode 4. I am your host, Nikki Johnston, and this is a Beyond Eons production. All right, so it's been a while since I've been on. I've tried to collect a couple people to become a guest, and with the holidays and everything, we had to wait a little bit. So I am very excited to bring on my client, Skye Williams, and we're going to discuss her story. And for those of you who have not chimed in yet for my show, the goal is to just share stories, just to talk, and for you to hopefully listen and learn and kind of commiserate on just different stories. Just talk. And if there's anything that resonates with you, we would love for you to comment, or if someone wants to come on the show, please let me know. So when I bring Skye on, we're going to talk about her journey. And if you guys have any questions for her, please message her privately. She would love to share everything that she's been through and how she got through it. And hopefully an inspiring story for all of you. And let me get her on now. All right, girly, let's see. All right, hopefully we can get her on. There we go. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So you went to the gym this
I
morning.
did.
How was your workout?
It was tiring. I've been like sluggish all week.
Yeah.
Everybody in my house was sick, so I'm just like, I feel like I might be getting sick too. So yeah, but I
What'd you
did
do today?
legs today. I did
Okay.
legs. hmm
Awesome. Good. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad we got to schedule this.
Thank you for having
So,
me.
who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at in life right now, and then we'll backtrack to your journey from the beginning.
I am Skye Williams. I am 34 years old. Sorry, I kept saying 33, and I'm like, I just had my birthday, so trying to get used to 34. I am a mom of three, wife of 15 years. Well, it will be 15 years next year. I am a dental assistant, and first time bodybuilder.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, that's pretty much it. And I was a figure skating coach like this yesterday, and Monday will be my last day of coaching. So
Ooh.
yeah, it's a
How,
bittersweet
how does that
moment.
feel? I mean, is this like a permanent end? Like, I know that you're doing so much, and we all get to that spot where we're like, all right, we have so much on our plate, something's got to give.
hmm
Obviously, you're not going to lose your job.
Right.
And even though this has been a passion for a long time, is this a forever thing or a for now thing?
For now thing, right now I want to focus more of my energy on my kids, especially my oldest, going through some tough times. But right now, but also, yeah, just more so family time because I'm always working. My problem is I'm too much of a workaholic. So, now's the time to where I need to focus my energy more on my family and,
Yeah,
you know, be there on the weekends because that's the only time we're able to do stuff together anyway.
right. Well, I feel like we're always caught in between providing and being there. It's like, we can't do both, and we try, and then it spins out of control. And I remember when we first started, you were just working, working. I mean, it was insanity. We have to do what we have to do, but yeah, there is a level where it tops off. And for me, when my daughter was going through mental health issues, that was my top off. And that kind of just said, okay, I gotta stop what I'm doing. I gotta reset. I gotta pull back and kind of reinvent the wheel of how to be there for her, how to keep my career, and how to keep things moving along. So
Right.
I totally understand where you're at, and we're not going to talk about that today. I want to, but I know that you're kind of right in the beginning of things going on, and we didn't really talk about that, and if you want, how much you wanted to share. But what I do want to focus on today is your breast cancer journey. I don't even know all the details, so I'm very excited for this. So kind of tell us how old you were when you found out, what was going on at that time.
Okay. Um, it was back in 2019 when I got diagnosed in the summer. I would say end of June, maybe early July.
Mhm.
One day I was taking a shower and, I'm watching myself and I felt like a lump in my right breast on the side. And it felt like the size of maybe like a nipple. And I
Okay.
instantly in my mind, I was like, breast cancer. And I was like, wait, no, it can't be breast cancer because I don't have any relatives that have breast cancer in our family.
Mhm.
The only person that did have breast cancer was married into the family. So
Okay.
it's like not even blood
No
related.
blood.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, could it be one of those little cysts, little fatty lumps? Maybe I slept on it wrong, or, maybe I knocked myself out in the gym lifting or
Right.
something. So I just didn't pay any mind to it, but it was still in the back of my mind because I'm like, hey, that's not normal. That wasn't there before, but
Right.
I'm just going to let it, go run its course or something. And the weeks went by, I would say within the 2 weeks, it grew. And it was like from the size of that nickel to pretty much half of my breast. And it went
Wow.
from underneath my armpit here all the way to like almost close to my nip. Sorry, guys. I don't know if I say nip
Oh, yes.
online.
See, yeah, there's no TMI here.
Right. And at this point, it was pretty much like a rock. It was just hard and it was massive. Now I'm like, okay, this is not good. Let me make a doctor's appointment with my primary care. I went to my primary care and she says, oh, it's probably from you not breastfeeding. I'm like, I haven't breastfed in at this time maybe 3 years. My child is 3 years old at this point.
Oh,
So I'm like I don't think it's that, and because
yeah.
if I would think it would come straight from my nipple or something or close to it, maybe.
Mhm.
But she was like, "Oh, it's probably a clogged milk duct. If anything, just get some warm compress, put it on you, let it just heal on its own." I'm like,
All right,
I
let
don't
me
think so.
interject real quick. If any of y'all have a doctor who ignores your signs and symptoms and legit tells you it's something that could not even be possible 3 years later,
Mhm.
fucking run.
Yeah,
Go find your doctor who's going to listen to you and get the tests you need. Okay, moving on.
yep. Like, stay clear. So then she told me I need to go get an x-ray of it. So I went over to my local x-ray facility and they said the same thing. They were like, yeah, it could be a clogged milta. And I'm like, I don't think so because right now it's bruised up, it's solid, like it's a huge mass.
Yeah.
It can't, I don't, I don't think so. So they took the x-ray. They were like, oh, it's fine. Nothing's wrong. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna follow the doctor's guidance. If they're not thinking it's anything serious, then I'll just go on about my life. So then I went to a cookout with my husband, and at this point, I'm in excruciating pain. I'm like, I can't do this anymore because at this point, I'm damn near about to cut it out and drain my boob or something
Right,
because
right.
I'm like, just get it off of me. Um, And then we finally went to the emergency care and of course sitting in there for hours until you being seen. And then I told them like, hey, I have this mass, like I wanted to get it removed. And they're like, oh, we can't get it removed. And then I flashed them. I said, are you sure? Because this looks like it needs to be removed. And they're like, oh yeah, we need to get you in immediately. So the
So did
next 2 days,
your doctor feel you? Did she look at
yep,
it and
yep,
still?
yep,
Okay. Okay.
nothing. Um, so then I went over, it was like 2 days later after the ER visit, and they finally got me scheduled to get a biopsy of it. And I'm like, no, I want you to remove the whole thing, biopsy the whole thing if that's the
Yeah.
case, but just remove all of it because I was very uncomfortable. And of course, they were like, no, that's too extreme. Can't do that. I'm like, okay, cool. They took a little sample of it, and then they sent me over to, I guess, whoever does the biopsy, and they made me an appointment to see him. I went in, and he called me. He was like, hey, I would like to see you in person. Is there any way you can come in? I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that.
Okay.
I go in, and it's the doctor and a nurse. The nurse is crying her head off, okay? And she's like, oh my gosh, like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what is happening?
You're like, am I dying? Am I dead?
Yeah.
Am I like, did I go to
So
heaven? Like,
I'm just sitting like this, like, all right, let's, and he's like, you have cancer. You have breast cancer. And I'm like, oh, this nurse is, oh my gosh, I'm so young. I can't believe this is happening to you. Do you have any family support? And I'm like, do you need support? Are you?
you're about to counsel her.
Yeah, I'm like, do you? I'm still trying to process everything that you just said to me. Like, this is how stupid I am. And this is how much I just am down for my children. The first thing that came to my mind when they were like, you have breast cancer. I was like, oh, I'm dying, right? I was like, oh, that's the end of me. But the other thing was, I was like, oh my gosh, no one is going to be able to do my kids' hair. My husband's going to have my kids looking raggedy out in the streets.
Thinking like a hot mess.
Yes, that's all I was thinking about. I was like, oh my God, he's going to have to learn how to do hair. And then I was like, oh man, now I got to tell him that I have breast cancer and he just got to work. I was like, that's all I was thinking about.
But
I
that's what
wasn't
we
like, oh my God.
do.
Yeah.
Protect. Like we hide, we protect, we think about everybody else but ourselves
Yep.
first.
I was like, oh, well, oh, okay. So again, the nurse was like, do you need support? I'm like, relax. I'm good. I'm like, okay, what are the next steps? And
Yeah.
he's like, well, we can transfer you to Charles Regionals. I was like, no, they kill people over there. No thanks.
Oh boy.
So then he was like, okay, well, we can send you over to John Hopkins. I was like, that sounds a lot better. Okay, and we can do that. So, yeah, I went into my car. I sat in my car for a little bit, and again, I was thinking, I was like, oh man, I gotta make this phone call. Should I wait until he gets home from work? And like me just thinking, he magically calls me, my husband,
No.
and he's like, oh, how did your doctor's appointment go? And I'm like, yeah, he said I got breast cancer. All nonchalant, like, cause I'm like, I don't want to make it a big deal. I'm just like,
Right.
yeah, I got breast cancer. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, they said I got breast cancer. He's like, I'm on my way home. And I'm like, no, you just got to work. At this time, my husband was working close to Baltimore,
Okay.
and we live in Waldorf. So that's like
Okay.
2 flights in itself.
Whew.
And it was like maybe an hour 30. I don't know how, but this man got home. It seemed like within 30
Like 30
minutes. And I'm like,
minutes.
did you even go to work?
He was on the shoulder the whole time.
Yeah. He was just, yeah. So then my cousin was also living with us at the time, and I come in her house and she's sitting on the couch, and I sit down across from her, and she's just looking at me like, okay, how's your appointment? And I'm like, yeah, they say I got breast cancer. And she's like, would not look at me, would not talk to me, went straight upstairs, and I guess cried it out. And I was like, who? I'm like, all right.
Like, why
Look,
is everyone crumbling around me and I'm the one that
yeah.
has
And
it?
I'm just like, all right, that's cool. Yeah. My cousin Diamond,
Is
right? I lost it.
that her
She
right
did.
there?
Yeah. She's
Oh, my
like,
diamond.
yep. Hiding in shame. And I'm like, I just wanted some jokes from somebody.
Right,
Something.
right. They just all left you.
Yeah. So then, like, immediately after that, my husband walks in, my grandma and my mom comes in the house, and everybody is crying. And I'm like, I'm not dead. I'm not. And they're like, they couldn't look at me. They couldn't. They're like, how, why? I'm like, I don't know why.
They're picking arrangements. They got the colors all set for your flowers. Like,
Right. He's like,
wow.
he said, my husband said, we're going to do all that we can to get you back. And I'm like, but if it's my time, it's my time.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you crazy? And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking about the worst possible outcome.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure you guys are straight. And I said, you got to learn how to do some hair. We got 3 kids. I need you to work on their hair. And he's like, are you kidding me? My cousin was like, she was so unserious.
So serious.
I was very unserious. Because it's me. You know, I'm not going to be the one to be like, oh my God.
Right, right.
And do that by myself. So, you know, it was like, well, okay, so what are we going to do moving forward? And my husband was like, well, you know, we got to make all these doctor's appointments. We got to make sure we get you together. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. So then finally the kids came home from school and I had to have a sit down conversation with them. I was like, look, I may or may not die, just so you know. And
Just saying.
what? And I'm like, tell my oldest, Luna, I say, you really got to hold it down because you the oldest, and I need you to have some common sense. Keep your sisters together. Make sure your daddy don't lose it. Make sure he don't get big and get depressed.
Aw.
Find a good mama, something.
Right. If only
And they're
if Ozempic was out then.
right. And they're like, what? And so I just had a sit down conversation with them. So that all, again, it all happened within um rolling into August. That's when I started getting my doctor's appointment with John Hopkins. Luckily, it was early on, so it wasn't anything that progressed really fast. So they caught it very, very soon.
So quick question. How did you ever find out how that lump progressed? That like how it metastasized like that?
It's an unknown. They don't know. They were like, yeah, that's strange that happened, and it's one of those
Yeah.
rare cases. And then so like the diagnosis was Ewing sarcoma.
Ewing?
Ewing sarcoma was the
You know how to spell
diagnosis.
it?
EWINGSACROMA.
Yeah, carcinoma. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Mm-hmm. And so I was scheduled a mastectomy in September, and of course I told them, I said, well, take both of them.
Yeah.
Don't just take one. And they were like, no, that's too extreme. And I'm like,
For
but you
who?
already want to take, right. And I'm like, you already want to take one of them, so why not just take both? And then at first I thought, okay, well, can you just remove the whole mass because they only sampled, you know, the first time. And they
Right.
were like, no, we want to take the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, we'll take both of my breasts. And they were like, no. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I had the mastectomy in September. Also, I forgot to say the age that I was. I was 20.
29, right?
Yeah, I was 29 because I
Okay.
turned 30 in 2020. Yep. So I was 29 years old. Yeah, mastectomy in September, and I started my chemo treatment in November.
Okay.
And I had 14 rounds to go through. The the routine that I had was I had to take BCD. I can't remember the chemo that I had, but I had at least 3 different types of chemo. One of
Okay.
them was a slow drip where I had to stay overnight.
Okay.
So I would start at like 6 in the morning and it wouldn't finish till pretty much like 11 at night.
Wow.
And that's constant, like
Right.
same bag
Yeah.
throughout the whole day.
Okay.
The other two, it ran for about I think 4 to 6 hours.
Hmm.
But at that point, when I started, I was in the hospital every other weekend. But then it got to the point to where my immune system crashed so drastically, like I lost my hair within the first week of chemo. Like
Wow. That's
I had,
strong stuff.
yeah, I had locks at the time, and I had my locks in a cute little bun style, and my
Yeah.
head was just, it was just falling apart. And I was like, oh, okay. It got to the point to where I literally just pull a
Just pull
lock
them
like
right
this, and
out.
yep. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not waiting for it to all fall out. I'm just like, shave it all off.
Yep.
So my husband shaved my head for me. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and then he was like, I'm gonna shave my head too. I'm like,
please
but if you
don't.
right, but if you want to, go ahead, do
You know
your
how you
thing.
watch all the reels of people doing it with each other, and
Yep.
it's the most beautiful thing in the world, but you're looking at him like, I
That,
don't want to see
that's
that.
not a look for you. Mm-mm. But for me, I can rock a little bald
You can
head.
rock it.
I can rock a little bald head. It
Oh
was a
my
little scalpy at first, but I was like, oh, okay, I can do
God.
this.
Yes.
Yep. Um, so I was doing my chemo in November. And again, it's like my immune system was just getting terrible because I was supposed to be done with all my treatment come February,
Mhm.
or I think end of January. That's when I was supposed to have been done.
Okay.
But because my immune system was just not taking that chemo so well, and they had to spread out the days,
Okay.
it lasted until May of 2020.
Okay.
Um,
Ooh, so
but
right into COVID
yeah,
then.
yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. So we were in the heart of COVID. Like once December, January hit, I had to be masked up. I had to,
Which,
I couldn't walk the hallways freely like I used to because I tried to walk while I was on treatment because
right.
that stuff, I mean, it really puts you down. Like it makes you feel like you're there's your skin is crawling, like there's ants all over you. Like
Ooh.
you just don't, it's not a good feeling at all. I felt tired all the time. It was hard to keep food
Yeah.
down. My doctor was like, yo, I need you to either smoke some weed or eat some edibles because
Right.
you're gonna feel like shit.
Right.
And
Right.
I did, but I didn't take any edibles. I just thugged it out at the
Right.
time. I was just like, whatever, like I can't do anything else, or I don't want to do anything else. Um, but yeah, during COVID, um, of course, we were on lockdown. Hardly, I mean, I had my visitors, but it wasn't as frequent as it was before because of the protocol and stuff.
Right.
Having certain people in the room.
I
Um,
would actually say that was probably to your betterment. I mean, given that you were not exposed to other people in the hospital, other infections, like
mhm.
if there's a time to be protected, I guess it would have been then
Yeah,
because you just the meds hit you so hard.
yeah.
Um, did you ever discuss your blood work with them? Like, did you ever get into the nitty-gritty of those things?
Honestly, no, because I didn't even know what I was looking at. They were just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, your white blood cells are looking better." I'm like, "Okay, what does that
Yeah.
mean?" And they're like, "Oh, you just." It was like they were very vague about everything, and of course, I wasn't pushy as into, let me know more. Because at this point, I was like, I was so over it. I was just like, I just want this to be done.
Right.
Um, and yeah, the nurses got tired of me every time I try to sneak out of my room though and walk. They'd be like, "You're back at it again." I say, "Yeah, I am,
Yeah.
because there's nothing else to do. I'm tired of
Right.
playing Animal Crossing,
Right.
watching the same shows. Like I need to move." Um, but yeah, when May came around, uh, the saving grace was COVID. I got to 10 rounds of chemo at that time, and I was supposed to complete 14. They were like, yo, let's send you home. I think you're good to go.
Okay.
Oh, but also, there was a brief time, I think in March or April, they found a lesion on my liver. and they
Okay.
thought the cancer spread from my breast to my liver at this point. So I also had to get X-ray and biopsy of that,
Mhm.
but they were like, "Oh, you're fine."
Yeah.
Love you too, Sam.
Thanks for
I'm like,
joining, you guys. We really appreciate it.
I'm like trying to go back on the comments, like, "Oh, whoa,
I know. I'm trying to comment in between and not get too distracted.
right,
Yeah, you have a lot of people watching. This is awesome.
yay."
Okay, so in May, they released you, and what was your protocol? Okay, let me backtrack. Where were you at in your fitness journey before this happened?
Um, I would say relatively fit. I was working with my great friend Chase Grafton. He was my trainer at the time, and then my other friend Jason Chin. Um, Jason Chin actually got me into my fitness journey. So I
Awesome.
give him high praise and thanks for that, and also the Chase at the time. I started with them back in 2017. That's when I started.
Okay.
So at that point, from 2017 all the way up to 2019, I was trying to, get into the best shape that I can be, and then also get into bodybuilding. I
Yep.
was talking to a lot of people at that time, but of course, it seemed like I was just getting nowhere. And at that point, I felt like some people didn't take me seriously when
Is that
I
because
was,
your body wasn't changing, or
I don't know if they
because you were putting in the work?
right. And they saw me at the gym every
Yeah.
day. I was with Chase every day. Like, shut up, Diamond. She was farmer crabs. Right. Pretty much. Like I had big shoulders, I had big arms, but of course I'm sure I had fat. I did have fat,
Yeah.
but I was still like yokey.
Yeah.
Um, and strong. And of course, I wanted to get into bodybuilding, but it just seemed like no one was giving me resources, or they'll give me vague resources. And then, of course, when I'm like, hey, would you like to train me? They're like, oh,
Mhm.
nope, you belong to such and such. And I'm like, but if they're not training me in that, then, and that's your niche, then can I get some help here, something? But
You said
of
you're in
course,
Waldorf. That's not too far from Columbia, right?
oh, that's far.
It
Yeah,
is? Because I've
yeah.
heard of Waldorf, but I don't know where it is relative
We're
to Columbia and
on the opposite ends. Like we are Southern
oh,
Maryland, Columbia is further up north.
okay. So I didn't know your region of people at the time. Maybe I did because we had people coming up to Coliseum from everywhere.
Hmm.
But that culture that was created just it doesn't make sense. Like it's such a small world, bodybuilding, and it's become such a catty, just ridiculous
Hmm.
um, sport. And it's just amazing to me that like people are clawing at the bit to own people. And you're like, I just want to, I have a dream. I want to do this dream. And y'all are share it. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, that makes no sense.
yeah.
Makes no sense.
And again, I thought it was more so like an image thing. I'm like, oh, do I not meet the standards
Right. Is
of
it you
somebody?
or was it
Yeah,
them? Right.
yeah. So
Interesting.
I was like, okay, whatever. So I try to do things by myself, but then again, I'm still looking and reaching, yada yada yada. Um, but then it got to the point to where I was like kind of putting it on the back burner too, because I'm like, well, maybe I should just keep up with just my own regular health and fitness and just be
Mhm.
content with that.
Okay.
Um, so, but then of course, 2019 happened, and I was like, oh, cancer, cool, love that for me.
It's
Um,
interesting how you go back and everything falls into line. Like,
mhm,
it, no one wants to wish this on anybody, but the fact that something was already happening, something was already moving you in a direction not to do this at that specific time. And then you go through a cascade of events through 2020. So were you able to pick up your fitness journey after that? How long did it take you to get back to the gym after May 2020? Well, everything was shut down. So like,
But
yeah, what did you do?
well, I I took a break. I tried doing little things at home, like walking and stuff, and then eventually I found myself back into the gym. I just, max up and stuff. Um, and that's pretty much it. But of course, trying to get my strength back from all that chemo, it was hard. It was
Yeah.
really, really hard. Like I was so sluggish. Even in the very beginning when I first started, and even after having my mastectomy, I would say within uh, 4 weeks after having my mastectomy, I went right back to the
Oh,
gym, and everybody's like, "What are you doing here?" I said,
yeah.
"I'm crazy. I just need to stay here. This is my home." And they're
Right.
like, "No." But of course, that did do a little bit of damage. Not, I didn't hurt myself, but just not feeling good
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
And even when I was going, like the first month I was going through chemo, I was like, I'm going to make it a point to be in the gym like I regularly am. Of course, that fizzled off real quickly.
Yeah. That
Um,
just shut you down.
yeah. But then also, um, at that time when 2020 happened, it was supposed to be the time that my husband and I were supposed to renew our vows. But of
Okay.
course, we pushed back the date. We were like, okay, let's try to aim for 2021 instead because one, COVID, two, cancer. It's
Right.
a lot going on.
And that would have
And
been 10 years, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yep. And that that I was like, maybe that'll give me some time to lose this weight that I've gained from all the treatment and stuff because I blew it quickly, and I mean, yes, from eating and not really moving, but that whatever chemical they put into you,
So
I just felt bloated
do
all the
you
time.
do you know what your weight was before like 2019 versus shortly after in 2020?
2019, I was about 155. I got
Okay.
down to 155. And then by the time I came back, I was like 180.
Yeah.
Um, like around there, 180, 185.
Hmm.
Uh,
And had you
uh,
been that heavy before
the only time I've ever been that heavy was during my pregnancy. Like I
pregnancy?
got up
Okay.
to 190 with my oldest. And then for my other two, like that was just right before I gave birth. They measured me in 190 for her. And
Mhm.
then the other two, I think I was probably around like 180,
Yeah.
around there.
Okay.
So that's the heaviest I've ever been in my life. Um, and dropping the baby weight, I would say I would hover between 160, 170. So
Okay.
still, it is my heaviest.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, after my treatment, or after they told me I can go home, I'm thinking, oh, do I need to come back and finish out the rest? Because they were so hell bent about me completing 14 rounds. I was
Okay.
done at like pretty much the third round of chemo. And then when we got to the seventh round, that's when my immune system was just terrible.
What
And
you were
that's
done as in it was gone or done as in what do you mean?
meaning like they scheduled me to have 14 rounds of chemo, right?
Right.
But what I felt and what I could handle, I was tapped out
At
at
three.
the third the
Wow.
third round.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
when we got to the seventh round, that's when I really was like, this is overkill at this point. Like I
Yeah.
feel like shit. And they're like, yeah, and your blood work's not looking good. How about we just space them out instead of lump you every week? Because at that time I was seeing them every week. So now the schedule was every other week I would be there.
You would have thought that they would have reevaluated you at the third one and been
Yep.
like, okay, we need to slow this down.
Well,
This is insanity to me.
they definitely did like, the CT scans to make sure everything's gone. They're like, yeah, you're looking good. And I'm like, okay, can I be done? And they're like, no, no, you have to finish it out. We want to make sure. And I'm like, you are seeing on that scan that I am fine. You even
Right.
remove my breast. Like there's nothing else at
Like
this
they're
point.
literally killing you.
Yes.
it's gone and they're slowly killing you from the meds.
Yes, that's what it felt like. And so, COVID was my saving grace because I get to go home. They needed beds for COVID patients.
Perfect.
But of course, after I'm home and stuff, and it's been a couple months, did I get a follow-up checkup? No.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh, I guess I'm fine. So I had to make the call to be like, hey, am I still good? Do I still need to make this treatment? They're like, no, you should be good. But you guys said that I need to complete 14 and I only made it to 10.
Right.
They're like, you're good. I'm like, okay, all right. And I didn't have my first mammogram until maybe, I would say, 6 months after coming home.
So wait, they didn't even do a mammogram of the other side.
That was mammogram, the first mammogram I've ever had in 6 months after
And this
everything.
is Johns Hopkins.
This is John Hopkins.
Yeah.
I mean, I still love them. I do. Yeah. I think they did a great job, but as far as, I guess, some bits like manners and then also the post-op protocol for things, I'm like, okay. But yeah, I had my mammogram for my other breast, my left breast, and then I was scheduled to have reconstruction surgery the in 2020 and in March. I think either end of February or early March. Okay. Also, while all of this was happening, 2021, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had my mastectomy in 2019. I had chemo in 2020. I didn't have any type of reconstruction surgery, so it would have been of 2021.
Okay.
All while this is all happening, my mother passed in 2020. So it was just like one thing after the other.
Yeah.
And the day that they said I was cancer free was like 2 days after she passed as well.
Oh my God. So what was, if you don't mind me asking, what was she going through?
Just life. My mom had a history of addiction. And that was like my whole life. But that's not the reason for her passing. She had a heart attack.
Wow.
But we had a really bad falling out 16 days prior to her death. I didn't talk to my mom for 16 days. And my mom would text me every day to check on me.
Yeah.
And I just would not respond because at this point, I was like, look, I need some space. And there were some things that I just was not for. And I wanted her to feel that gravity of like, look what you're doing to yourself, look what you're doing to me, look what you're doing to your grandkids. Like, wake up. Like, you're too old to be doing this.
Right.
But yeah. She passed September 21st, and then 2 days later, that's when I found out I was cancer free. So it was just like, wow, cool. Like, you just had to do that.
Right. It's like
right. And yeah. So I had to deal with that the whole winter. I was definitely in a not a great place. So I just had to be strong for my family. So that way, yeah, I just got to pull myself together. But moving on to 2021, I had my reconstruction surgery. It was the dip flap procedure. So basically, I didn't want any type of implants because I try to be as natural as possible. I was definitely afraid that I would be the one, so something would happen to my breast, and I'd just be like, darn, going through all this for it to not work. But now in hindsight, I'm like, maybe I should have just got him. But the procedure was they take fat from your body and create a breast. At first they wanted to try to take fat from my back, but I didn't have enough back fat. So then they were like, okay, well, let's look at your stomach. So they took skin and fat from my belly and created a breast. So I got me like a little mini tummy tuck from that. Then they did a lift on my left side to match the right. But of course, my body's like, oh, we don't want nothing to sag on you. So I'm uneven, still currently uneven. Yeah, my left breast, my doctor was like, your collagen's so good that it doesn't want to drop.
Yeah.
And this has been like a year time to where we're like, all right, let's see what happens within a year. Let's see if it falls. Nope, still sitting high like it was the first day. So I got that done. I have done that procedure at least like I think 3 times so far, and they still want to see if they can put an expander on my left breast to stretch it out so that way they can pull the skin down to make it match with the right. At this point, I'm like, I don't even think I want to go through that anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and then let's roll forward. Then this year, I sent you a message, and I was like, train me, take me under your wing.
Let's do this.
Something.
Oh, it was so much fun. So much fun.
And it's funny because I reached out to you like many years ago as well, back in like 2018, I believe. Or yeah.
Oh, I have to go back to my email and look.
Yeah. And I dropped the ball on that one because I just was not financially ready, but then also like life was life. So
it all ebbs and flows the way it's supposed to. And I know same thing for everything throughout my journey and different things that have come along the way. When you go back and like look at all the pieces that actually happened, you're like, oh, that's why this didn't happen. Oh, that's why this did happen. And it unfortunately never happens when we want it to, but when it does, it means all that much more. I mean, my bodybuilding journey started in 2001, and then I didn't get on stage until 2010. So, it just, whatever happened along the way, just, you learn, you mentally and physically grow, and, when it's ready, it actually happens. So I do want to ask you, like, you've been for me, it seems like relatively stoic, staying positive, focusing on your family, like, okay, I've got to get through it for them. Was there ever a point where you just broke down, where you were just
every day,
fell out every day?
Every day. I just hide it every day. But then it got to the point I was at a Target with my husband.
Okay. And when was this?
This was during prep.
Oh, okay.
Or are you just talking about in general as far as like going through like the cancer stuff?
All of it. All of it. Because you went straight to, I got to get this done. I got to make sure my kids have their hair done. You just went into do it mode. When did you have time for you to really lean into how you were feeling and just pour out?
I didn't.
Wow.
Not during that time. No, I didn't. And it got to the point to where my husband was very concerned about that, and he made me go to therapy.
Are you a psychopath? Do you enjoy this?
You know what? Pain is just a concept.
It's all in your head. There's no such thing.
No such thing. It's like, I just look back at all the things I've been through in my life, and I'm like, it's not the worst. Is it shitty? Yeah.
Yeah.
it is the word for this. Now it's like life or death. Um, but then I was like, I wasn't really concerned about myself. I was just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I, again, it was like everybody else around me is falling apart. And I'm like, well, if I fall apart, no one's going to catch me because they already just,
Right. They were doing it for you.
right. Exactly. They were doing it for me. So I didn't have room or space to just think about it. Or I
Right.
didn't go, why me? Like, I was just like, well, fuck. Like, all right, it is what it is. Gotta
Right.
keep
Right. I'm going to
going
be the
because,
savior.
yeah, life is what it is. And it's like, I try to be positive. That's why I'm always joking around.
Yeah.
Am I hurt? Yeah. But will
Yeah.
I display that? Absolutely not.
Right. Well,
Because,
you have your way of this. That is your way of displaying it.
yeah,
And well, in a sense, it's what you see some really famous comedians going through, that they outpour this beautiful soul, this beautiful story, this comedy, and they're really hurting inside. Do you, I know you're going through some things right now, but do you feel like you have an internal hurt inside all the time, or do you feel good most of the time?
I, I feel the internal hurt.
Yeah.
That's why I try to project positivity all the time. Because
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, everybody has their moments. I have my moments. It's just, again, I don't have the room to express
Dark
that. I don't have
humor.
time to. My cousin's like, she has dark humor. I do. It's pretty
Yeah,
bad,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's funny. I'm
But does it help you get through whatever it is you're going through? Is it a
absolutely,
way for you, an outlet to feel better, actually feel
yeah,
better? Okay.
yeah,
I love that. As long as that's a cyclical process, because you're not letting it build up, you're able to let it come out. It's always kind of there, but you manage it.
hmm
Okay. So we had some issues in the beginning of prep, and you hit a point where you're just like, fuck it, I'm in. And that concerned me. If you remember, I'm like, okay, she's not complaining. She's doing what she's supposed to do. I'm a little worried. Did you bring any of it? Did you think about your journey? Did you think about your mother? Did any of these things come in, or was that just, okay, this is what I'm doing right now, and I know what I need to do now?
it's what
How,
I just turned everything off.
okay,
I don't know if you ever seen the Vampire Diaries or whatever, but they're like, oh, you gotta turn your humanity switch off or whatever. It's like I just, if I gotta do it, I'll do it.
yeah.
And that's, I just focus. If anything, it's almost like an obsession thing. And it could be a problem. It is a problem.
It
But
is. There's
no,
no balance in what you truly want to get done. You
yeah,
can't. Everything goes to the wayside, and this is the one thing that you're doing.
exactly. And then I try to justify it to where I'm like, well, I'm doing it for me.
Yeah,
This is the only time that I've ever done something for myself, and I'm going to be selfish about it. Like,
yeah,
because I'm always doing for other people, I'm always there for them. But, I've learned a long time ago, like, even though I have family and friends that do support me, but if I need to get shit done, it's me. It falls on me.
right,
I have
right,
nobody to blame but
right.
myself. And it's
No one's
just,
coming to save you, is what they
it's not
say.
exactly. So it's just taking that accountability. But then also, it's like, I put myself in this. I say I want this, so why don't I do it?
Right.
So
Wow.
I
Don't
was just like,
we all fall into that? I mean, I do it over and over and over again with everything. It doesn't matter what it
hmm
is. And then you flip that switch, and it's on. So let's go backtrack to your breast cancer journey. I think you're still on medication now to maintain. Are you still on tamoxifen? Were you on
I
tamoxifen?
was never on tamoxifen.
Never. So were you on,
I
go
was
ahead.
on gabapentin for nerve pain, but
No, no
no
meds,
meds,
just the chemo.
just a chemo. That's all they gave me.
Interesting.
They just gave me chemo. They did a mastectomy. Um, that's it. I didn't have anything post the take other than they're like, oh, take some vitamins. But
Really?
that was just over the counter stuff. I was just prayed up.
Interesting. So I'll have to look into the type of cancer you had, because generally with breast cancer, you're looking at hormonal
Mm,
issues. And what they try to do is tamoxifen, well, it's used in the bodybuilding world to help control estrogens, but
Mm.
in men and women, if men are on testosterone, sometimes that testosterone converts into estrogen. The tamoxifen helps pull it out, bring it down. And for women, it kind of just turns us off and keeps us from holding a shit ton of water, which is what estrogen does in our body. But yeah, I mean, with that, it's supposed to help control supposedly any growth, regrowth. So maybe it's related to the type of cancer that you had, but that's interesting. I mean, that's great that you didn't have any. I mean, when you were done, you were done. Like that's
Yeah.
huge.
Like
That's huge.
they
I
kicked
don't
me
see that
out.
often.
They said you
Yeah.
gotta go, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll go home. Don't have to tell me twice. But yeah, it's the only thing that I've received after everything was the gabapentin. It's because I had so much nerve pain.
Yeah.
I had it in my hands and my feet.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, just take that until you don't want to
You
take
feel better.
it. Yeah.
So did you
And of course, nausea
notice?
medicine, but that's
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Did you? So gabapentin is also a psych med. It's used for both, for nerve pain and different. Like it calms your nerves, so it's supposed to calm
Mm.
activity. Did you notice any of that as well? Did you feel different on it, or was the pain
Now,
so focused on the pain?
yeah, I mean, I didn't feel any difference outside of it working for my nerve pain. Like
Okay.
I didn't feel any different mentally. I was
Okay.
just was tapped out all around. I was just like
Yeah. Yeah.
just skating through life,
Yeah.
just going through the
Wow.
motion. Yep.
Amazing, amazing. So no follow-ups, no blood work. Do you have anything routine outside of general medicine?
That's general. I
Wow,
like the
so
raw dog
cool.
life. I'm
Right?
like, what if it happens, it happens, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you've taken good care of yourself. I mean, you really have from the beginning of your journey, way before. How much did that protect you? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you literally built up your body to handle what you went through.
Yeah.
And you're doing the same thing now. I mean, you know, that's what we do. You're not doing it to fight anything. You're doing it to be healthy and to look good, right?
Yep.
So, but at the same time, all of these other things are happening. It's specifically for your mental health. I mean, um, that's why, exercise and nutrition is just so important in one's life. Um, Wow, super cool. Like you guys, I didn't know any of this stuff. Like this is, Skye and I have learned a lot about each other over the past year, but um, we touched on her journey insofar as how it would affect her prep. And it didn't, which was really, really cool. So that was a component that we had, well, no, actually I shouldn't say that. There was we were thinking maybe some lymphedema or some kind of water
Right. In
weight that
my
you may,
legs.
yeah.
Yep. And that
And
was, yeah, because they took the fat. Also, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, when they did the procedure for my breast, of course, I only had like this amount of fat for my stomach,
right.
and it's whatever they can give me. So to fill out the breast, they took from my legs as well. They took
Mhm.
a little bit of fat, but that's where I thought, oh, could it be the liposuction that kind of, because always felt like my legs were like, I've always had big
Mhm.
legs, but it got to the point to where it just felt like it was water weight
Right.
or maybe more fat. Um, but it just felt like I was walking on a log sometimes, like my ankles would swell up and stuff like that. So,
Right.
and I've never had
So,
that.
so where are your legs at right now? Since we've been out of prep for a couple months now, and you're still working out things, being post competition, which you guys is very hard. It's the most aggressive mental mind fuck in the world to be in contest shape, wearing all the cute ass clothes,
Hmm.
and then the juxtaposition between that and wanting to grab every piece of food in front of you.
Oh,
How have your legs changed since being on the stage? Have you noticed that swelling or has come back? Okay.
yeah, yeah. I've been piggy dipping in the piggy pond. I've been I've been eating, and the definition of that little quad sweep,
Yeah, yeah,
She's
it's gone.
she's a little faded, and I'm like, fuck, like, why did I do that to myself? And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
why? Why did I have to be greedy? Why did I have to listen to the parasite in my body to be like, eat, child, eat,
Right,
eat,
right.
eat? And I'm like, no, but I'm gonna eat it anyway.
It's a fight. It is a fight,
Yeah,
internal fight, constantly.
but
Yeah.
they still feel strong. Like I feel like my legs are there. But of course, after prep, like I was working out, still working out. Um, but like I feel like my strength has just kind of just went downhill a little bit. So
So do you
sometimes
think
where
that's a mental thing, or I'm trying to put some, there we go. Okay. Do you think that's a mental thing, a physical thing, or just a accumulation of the stuff leading up to you stopping skating or to teaching, coaching? Do you think it's kind of all of that wrapped into it?
probably, but if anything, it's more of a physical thing. Like it seemed like I just can't push weight like I used to.
Yeah.
So then I just try to do more so time under tension, so that way
Yeah.
I can at least maximize what I'm doing. Um, but yeah, I feel a little weak.
Yeah.
But then also my muscles are fading, and I was like, oh. My gym bros are like, you looking real thick there, and I
Yeah,
was like, oh. And it's
you got to
like,
use them crumble cookies to your advantage.
that's not what I had crumble cookie. And I'm a slut for crumble cookie. But
Yes.
I had that. You know what I've been eating?
What? Oh, we can't hear you.
No,
You're.
I,
Wait,
I, I don't want you to hear me. But just know
wait,
I've been eating.
wait, what?
I've been eating like bread pudding and some ice cream. Shut up,
Oh.
Diamond. Shut up.
Diamond, don't egg her on.
It's
I'm about to start
true.
coaching you so you can coach her.
It's
Bread
true.
pudding is so good, though.
It is. It's criminal. I have entered my auntie era. I feel like it's like when people migrate to pecan pie or like what's the other dessert where it's like, really you gonna eat that? Like you're not even old.
I will say
Like
some of the best bread pudding I've ever had was Magnolia in New York City.
mm, mm.
Oh my God, their oh my God, it is insane, insane. Okay, so let's move to this real quick before we end this. I forgot to ask you this, but this is the perfect time. How did you get the name of your handle?
Pudgy pie?
Yes.
Because I am pudgy. But then also my friend Tasha, she gave me the nickname Pie about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And it just stuck with me. She gave me my nickname Pie because I've never had a nickname
Yeah,
because my name is just Skye. You can't, you know,
nickname that right.
yeah, you can't. So then I always say, yeah, I'm a pudgy girl. And then I was like, Pudgy Pie.
Oh,
Okay,
I love that.
I'll stick to it. But then I don't know. I might just change it to Swole Bean. I've been called Swole Bean now. That's my name now.
Okay, okay. We can keep Pudgy Pie for your food fantasies, and then we'll
Yep.
keep Slow Bean for your fitness journey.
Yep.
So before we end, what are a couple of things that you would like to share with people going through something like this, or even dealing with a family member? Kind of some life advice for what you went through, looking back at it now.
Drown in it. Drown in your success. If it's something that you want to do it. Because again, nothing is stopping you but you. Like, and that's the motto that I've been living for this past year. Like, if you want to do it, do it. There is nothing physically, or no one's holding a gun to your head saying, you can't do this.
Right.
You got, if you want it, it is yours. And that's it. Like, and it's going to be hard. No one wants to do it. No one wants to put in work.
It's so
And no one talks
hard.
about it. Is very hard. But if you just take one day at a time and just keep going, it's the being consistent that's the most important part.
Mhm.
You're going to fuck up along the way. That's what comes with experience. And then you have to recognize that fuck up. You have to recognize, like, all right, I messed up here. let's see if I can do a little bit better tomorrow. And if I try to mess up tomorrow, be like, all right, you know what? I did that the day before. Why did I do that? What was I
Mhm.
feeling? What brought me to be at this point? And just recognize it and then own up to it.
Right.
Because you can't, again, you can't blame nobody but yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and then for those that are like, well, I'm too busy. I don't have no time. No, you got time.
Yeah.
You got time.
You will make the
Everybody,
time.
everybody, exactly. You will make the time. Everybody has time. It's just about prioritizing your
Yeah.
time. What is more important to you? And for me, I keep telling this to a lot of my friends or family. They're like, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, I just get up and do it.
Yeah.
But it's so hard for mentally to do that. Why? And then I bring up, well, you go to work, right?
Yeah.
No one's forcing you to go to work, but you
Mhm.
go to work because you need a roof over your head. You need food in your belly. So what's wrong with you prioritizing your health?
Yep.
Like,
Absolutely.
and again, the whole time issue. I get up 4 o'clock in the morning to be at the gym at 5, or some days I'll be at the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning. So that means
Yep.
I'm getting up at 3.
Yep.
And I do that just because I can get it done. It sets the tone for my day. Now I'm not telling
Yep.
everybody they got to do this, but just it's just for me. I like to start my day off with dedicating to myself. It
Mhm.
helps me mentally. It helps me physically.
Yep.
Plus, then I have to go to work. And then I have to come home from work. And I don't want to work out after work. I
Mm.
don't want to do shit.
So
But
I'm
then
starting to find that too. Yep.
but then also like I'm a mom and a wife. So that means when I get home from work, I gotta be those things. I have to wear those
Right.
hats.
Right.
So I don't want to take time from them by going to the gym after work because then I can't dedicate my time with them throughout the
Yep.
week because then the
Yep.
only days I have left is the weekend,
Yeah.
right? So it's all about just prioritizing your time. Now, you don't have to go off the walls and be like, oh, like I gotta be at the gym for 2 hours. No, just
Right.
start off with something basic.
Right.
Walk. Walking is essential. Walking is free,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. Yep.
But just a jump start, just do those little things. And again,
Yep.
it's a progression, it's a journey. Like
Mhm.
it's not a in all, like you're gonna be doing this for the rest of your life. This is a
Right.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
They're not it's corny as that sound. It's so true. It is a lifestyle.
Right. And it's cyclical. So you'll have your
Yeah.
times of growing, you'll have your times of
Yep.
competing, but overall, you have that baseline of, okay, I'm doing this for my health.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep that underneath it all, I'm doing this to be there for my kids. I want to be able to run with them when I'm, my grandkids when I'm 60 and 70. And so if you think about your future self too, I think that can keep things more aligned because what we do today is going to affect us down the
Yep.
road. And, just keeping that present all the time, I think will help people kind of stay on the wagon. But again, we're not telling anybody to compete. That's the extreme of what we do. But I will say that like stopping is far
Yeah.
worse than being in it because even now, so leading up to the holiday, I probably worked 20 27 out of 30 days maybe. And I'm more tired now being off for the last week and a half. Like I have a list of things I want to get done, but man, I don't have to be up at a certain time. I like this got me up. This is what I need. Like tomorrow I'm actually going to work for a little bit, but it's like when you stop or when you slow down, that's when it's like, oh man,
Mm-hmm.
it's so worse. So when you start making these small habits, these small adjustments, and they become habits, you really realize how they make your day go and make things so much better. So whether it's walking 500 more steps a day than you did yesterday, that's it. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. And like you said, it's free and it's the easiest thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be complicated.
It really doesn't. It's honestly what I've learned or my take back from all of this is basically keep it simple. It is simple. Like honestly, it is easy, but the hardest part is just doing it
Yep.
and staying with it.
Yep.
That's the hard part.
Yep.
And again, we're so used to eating all this good stuff that our body's like, we need it. And sugar is the number one killer. It
Yep.
really is.
Yep.
It's in
Absolutely.
all your food. It's everywhere. So
Yep.
read your
Yeah.
ingredients. Read what's behind the package. Stay out of the
Yeah.
processed stuff
Stay
because
outskirts of the store.
yeah,
Stay in the
because
perimeter.
that's, we're so used to eating that. And, when you finally start to eat clean, you'll feel a whole lot better. But of course, you're going to go through that phase. You're going to, yeah, you're going to feel like you're going through
Yeah.
withdrawals.
Oh,
It-
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
But it's just getting over it,
Yep.
just stick with it because it is going to be an ugly process at first, but just give yourself some time because again, and And of course, again, it's a journey. So
Yeah.
you've been living in your body for X amount of years. You've been that size for X amount of time. You're
Yeah.
not going to be small or fit or thin within a couple days. It
Right.
takes
Right.
time.
Have patience,
Yes.
be consistent, and have grace with
Yes.
yourself. Forgive, move on, and do better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So with that said, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so, so much. This was a beautiful talk.
Thank you.
I want you on again. Let's, well, we'll be talking in the background, but if it's possible to share your journey with your babies, specifically, I think your oldest one right now,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have a talk with you about her and some of the things that my daughter has gone through. And yeah, we're in an interesting time in our lives right now and stuff.
Yes.
Maybe you have experienced more than me because I'm about 11 years older, and what my daughter's going through, I have never in my life experienced.
It's the
So I
teens.
might get some help from you.
I don't even know, girl. I just be like, girl, you need to relax.
Yes.
That's what
The
I
anxiety.
do.
Oh yeah, they want to fight. Oh my God, do I want to raise a hand sometimes,
Yeah.
guys? It's not even funny.
Yeah. I,
But anyway, I'll have you come back for that in a few months. I think that'll be fine. Nice to check in and on your fitness journey too. We can talk a
yes.
little bit more about competition and what you're up to and um yeah, maybe getting you on stage again.
Hmm.
So, all right, you guys have a beautiful Sunday. This was Hey
Bye.
Nikki episode 4. Thank you so much. We had more people on this one than I've had so far. So if these are all your peeps, thank you, Diamond and Nergy, and who else is on here? K Slice, Dante, of course. Candria was on here. We had a bunch of people. So thank you guys. All right. So I'm not sure when the next one is, but I will keep you informed. And you guys have a great day. Thank you. Bye, Skye.
Bye.